when the world has got you down. And
Alzheimer's sucks. It's an equal opportunity disease that chips away at everything we hold dear. And to date, there's no cure. So until there is, we continue to fight with the most powerful tool in our arsenal, love. This is Love Conquers Alls, a real and really positive podcast that takes a deep dive into everything Alzheimer's, the good, the bad, and everything in between. And now, here are your hosts, Susie Singer-Carter and me, Don Priest.
Hello, everybody. I'm Susie Singer-Carter.
And I'm Don Priest, and this is Love Conquers Alls. Hello, Susan.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and season's greetings, everybody.
All those things. Although by the time they're listening to
All
this,
those
it's
good
probably
things.
going to be the past. And so we hope everyone
It's
had an
okay.
amazing holiday. Yeah. But
It's good. And you might be listening to this 2 years later. Who cares?
Exactly. This may be listened to next Christmas. Who knows?
That's right. That's right. So first of all, I got to visit my mom yesterday.
Yes.
And bring the baby. And it
Yeah.
was so lovely. It was beautiful outside, and she was so happy, and she got a chance to interact with Eden, and it was just a joy, and it
That's
put a little
awesome.
spring in my step.
Yeah. I
Yep.
mean, I saw the pictures and the videos, and she looked at peace, and she looked just happy and just so.
Happy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because she was just surrounded by, everyone that makes her happy. Your two daughters, you, the baby. What more could she ask for? Unless I was
girls.
there. She could have asked for
That's true.
that, but but
If you were
no,
there,
it's always,
she wouldn't see us.
that's true.
If you were there, yeah.
Yeah, she would have been doing
It's
that,
true.
that little thing she does.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's like, in a time where we're giving gifts and getting gifts, there ain't no better one than that
That's
one.
my gift.
Absolutely.
that.
And we have a gift
And
today. We have a
got-
great gift today.
We just have
Yes.
a little bit of some good news. We have another podcast in case anybody's not heard us plug this a million times, but our other podcast, which is a scripted comedy horror called I Love Lucifer. It's a hoot, and we just made it finals in 4 different categories for the Audio Verse Awards, the AVA Awards, and we're very proud, and we're in good company, and it's our first time doing a scripted podcast, so we feel very blessed, and so another unexpected gift, and we're very proud. So thank you to everybody that already voted for us and have been listening. And if you haven't listened, please try it out. You'll enjoy it. It's fun. It's wackadoo, and it's also very sweet.
Yeah, and it's on
we put
all the
heart
major
in horror.
platforms. Yeah, that's what somebody. We got a review that said Susie puts the heart in horror, and she puts the heart in everything. That's why there's a big heart in our logo. Is that why?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Susie
Well,
puts the heart in
I
logos.
like it. I like hearts.
Yeah, indeed.
I was the girl in junior
And
high
we
that put a heart over her eyes.
What do you mean, just in junior high?
Whatever. So guess what? We have our very first part 2 of a guest.
Exactly. There's a reason. It's not just because we like him. There's a reason behind it. Well, our guest today may look familiar to some of you because this is his second appearance on Love Conquers Alls. Tony Copeland Parker and his partner Catherine Popp have had a long passion for endurance running and travel. And they weren't about to let Catherine's diagnosis of early-onset Alzheimer's nor his heart valve replacement surgery in 2014 take them off course. Following Catherine's diagnosis at age 53, they retired, sold their house, and set off on a journey of running in marathons around the globe. And now he has chronicled their incredible experiences in a new book, Running All Over the World, Our Race Against Early-Onset Alzheimer's. And we are so lucky to have both of them on today with us. So say hello to Tony Copeland Parker and Catherine Popp. Hello.
Hello, how you doing? We're so glad to be here with you two.
We are thrilled to have you.
We're so happy to have you, both of you, Kat and Tony. Tony's one of our favorite people I've got to know through doing this podcast, which we've got to meet some amazing people. But Tony is one of the special ones, and his cat, his life partner that is just amazing and inspirational and adorable. Let's just call it what it is, you know.
Absolutely.
And I don't know, but we both got the memo to wear red shirts today, so.
And Tony and I got the black shirts. And
Right, there we go.
I didn't even notice.
No, listen.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we're like a J.C. Penney's ad.
Yeah. Well, I haven't been.
Yeah, except for yours has Christmas and hers has a racing.
Ooh.
I
Carmel half marathon we ran.
Yeah, both of you have marathon shirts on.
that's-
We do not.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yep. One day I will. One day I will, because you are inspiring the hell out of me. I just want to say, I finished reading, or listening rather, to Anthony's book, Tony. Let me say that, Tony. I like Anthony though too, because it's fancy. You know, I got an opportunity to listen to the whole book, and it is such a trip, pardon the pun, because it's not an Alzheimer's
Yes.
book. It's not a book about running. It's not a book about travel. It's a book about all of that in one, and a book about like two great people. And so it really is a genre in its own. And I was so surprised and delighted by it, because I got to travel to so many cities. And Tony, you have an amazing ability to recount interesting details, but minutia.
And the food was
that
delicious. The food was delightful.
And the food.
It was. I gained 11 pounds reading this book.
Yeah.
Well, you're supposed to do the things that I suggest, Todd.
I probably should have done the running too.
Yeah.
I
Forgot about that part.
That's the thing.
I just want to frame the book a little for our listeners, because I want to also say that if you've ever wanted to run a marathon or thought about it, read this book, because you will be inspired to at least try it once. I will, and I'm going to. And, you know,
Okay.
I did a lot of, I am. I did a lot of research for a film that I adapted from a book called Plain Jane, and it's about a woman running the New Jersey Marathon. And it's really, you know, I had to really immerse myself in that world of marathons, because I've never done it, although I am athletic. And but boy, I wish I would have read your book before I wrote my script. And it really is fascinating what you guys do, and especially serial runners like you both are. It's incredible. And then on top of it, you weave in and out of your journey, not, you know, around the world running, and then also with each other as you both deal with your early onset Alzheimer's. And that and it's pretty it's wildly inspirational. And I don't know anybody who could read this book and just go, oh yeah, you are. Both of you are just shining examples of the best way to live your life with a diagnosis like this, or any diagnosis. Like, you know, I'm going to shut up. But Tony, can you first tell me how the hell are you today?
We're doing pretty good, actually. I want to talk about for a second here a phrase I coined in the book, which is called our new best friends. And I want to talk about an example of how we can travel anywhere and run into someone that we had met through our travels previously. And you and Don are an example, because we came out to the West Coast a couple of weeks ago, or actually probably 2 months ago now, and we were able to get together and have lunch. And that was a really good thing for us, to be able to associate something that we had done with someone before, and then come up to the West Coast to meet up with you. So that was a great time.
It really was.
And as you remember, I was begging to get back on your lovely podcast, because you all were one of the first podcasts that I had done after I sold my book. And I wanted to come back and to thank you for getting me started on this journey down through podcast life. And then also to mention to you about your other podcast. And the fact that we're going to vote.
Yes.
And we love listening to it. And Kat loves it and laughs all the way through it, even when the screaming is out of control. So, yeah. We have a lot of fun listening to it. So,
That's
awesome.
awesome. Thank you. This is a love fest. Thank you.
Yes,
and
it
also,
is.
I wanted to also congratulate you on the being listed number 3 of the best books on dementia on beingpatient.com, which is a highly respected portal for our community. And so I think that's really incredible that you so quickly got the recognition that you deserve.
Thank you. I was overjoyed to see that come through here. I did a Facebook Live of Being Patient, and I enjoyed doing that. And I've done an Instagram Live the other week, and that was a lot of fun. Some people tell me I should start my own podcast, but I don't want to go up against you guys.
You would just enhance the world. You would enhance this whole space if you did. So it's important,
Yeah, but it would take you away from it. Would.
Yeah, when could you do it? You could do it while you're running. You could do it.
Oh yeah, right there. You go.
That would be a whole new podcast. You call it On the Run.
Yep.
On the run.
On the run. On the run with Tony and Kat.
Tony and Kat. Yeah.
Yep. So people would think that we were escaped convicts or something.
I know. Yeah.
Which is something else, is because people ask us all the time about our travels and why we do it and what's going on and all that, and some folks that I don't really care for that much when they ask that question. I say that we're on a protected list, and that's why we move around so much.
Well, actually, that's actually a perfect setup for a podcast, because true crime is number one in podcast land. So you guys would do well with a double entendre like that.
Right, there you go. There you go.
Yeah,
You're full of ideas, I tell you.
I can't help it. I'm a creator.
So you're full of ideas, and Don's the pretty.
Exactly. I am just.
That's right.
I'm just the meat.
Right.
She's the potatoes.
Oh boy. Okay, we're going off the rails here. So where were we?
For those of our listeners who have not seen your other visit to us, maybe you could just give a very brief background on what you've been doing, where it started and your journey.
Like you stated, back in 2014, I had open heart surgery. I had a leaky aortic valve that had to be replaced, and unfortunately, that went well, fortunately, but unfortunately, around the same time we learned that Catherine
made
had
space
early
for her.
onset Alzheimer's. That's when the diagnosis came through after extensive testing with neurologists and all. So with that, I decided that we were going to both retire, and we sold our home, and we did not intentionally become nomads, but as we refer to ourselves as Goldilocks, we kind of looked around from place to place to try to find some place to live, and couldn't find the perfect place. So 7 years later, we're still on the road. Right now we're in Atlanta, Georgia, which we use as our hub of operations, just like an airline does. We fly on Delta, and we stay in Marriott hotels, and we rent Hertz cars. I got to rent a Tesla today. Oh my goodness, that was one cool car. But so 7 years and counting. I don't know when we're going to ever settle down. Every time I ask Catherine to settle down, she asks me why, and I don't come up with a good reason. So we keep going, and we have kids grown adults over the country, so we go visit them, and then we do races. Right now we're working on getting a half marathon in all 50 states. Congratulations to Catherine here, who last year was able to get a marathon done in all 50 states. Hooray, hooray, hooray. That is something else there. Oh my goodness. I'm still 7 states away, never going to do it. So we're concentrating on getting a half marathon in all 50 states right now. We just got state number 41 done. After we saw you all, we stopped off in New Mexico on our way back to Atlanta, and we got another state done. So state number 41, and we probably will work on getting the next 9 plus DC here this spring. So I have 68 marathons, and Catherine has 83 marathons. I did this because she was running marathons, and I wanted to get to know her better. So I said, hey, can you train me to run a marathon? And she said, yes, absolutely. Me thinking all I had to do was run one marathon and I'd be done. Everything would be fine. And 68 marathons later, I'm still trying to impress her. There was a 50-miler in there somewhere. There was an Ironman in there somewhere. So, yeah.
Smooth move.
So, smooth move. Yeah. But back to the challenges.
You guys are living the life of rock stars.
And sometimes we treat it as such because we pull in here at the Renaissance Gateway, one tram stop away from the airport, and we get off and we come in and everybody's smiling and asking us where we've been and can we get in your suitcase on your next trip. So they treat us really well here. So
That's
amazing.
fantastic.
Although love conquers alls, we're extremely interested in leaning into whatever challenges come our way. But we all have challenges, right? With everything.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering if you and Kat would share some of the challenges that you've been dealing with in terms of just this, rotten disease that we all are familiar with. If you want to, if you don't have to. But I think it's always helpful to hear what challenges are out there and then how you are circumventing them or, kicking them to the curb or not.
there are challenges, as you know, with this disease, with your mother and all, and the numbers are increasing with Alzheimer's. It turns out that women are more susceptible to early onset than men. It's more susceptible for minorities than it is for Caucasians. There's all sorts of things that I've learned along the way about this disease, and what I decided to do was to incorporate a lot of the things that you can do to help yourself. First, to try to push it off as long as possible, or when you have the diagnosis, what you could do, which is staying active. Activity, running, biking, swimming, anything that you love to do, long walks, is really good for you. Making sure that you stay social. A person with Alzheimer's has a tendency to want to withdraw as they have difficulty speaking and things of this nature. So, as your partner, you want to get them out there and socialize, which one of the things we did quite extensively. And as we talked about earlier, dropping into a city and just going out and meeting up with someone that you know and having lunch with. We were in Virginia, and we knew someone that was 2 hours away. So I drove an hour and they drove an hour, and we met and we had a nice breakfast together. So there's things that you can do to try to stay social. We also love to walk around botanical gardens. There's something about nature that helps out for folks with Alzheimer's, and staying active, seeing new and exciting things. So that's one of the reasons why we run all over the world, so we can see the Eiffel Tower, the Great Wall of China, visit places like Bhutan and Madagascar, and play with the lemurs there. Those are all the things that we try to do. And then lastly, make sure you get plenty of sleep. And by staying active, you can wear yourself out, so when it comes time for night, you can go ahead and get a good night's sleep, because that helps the brain rejuvenate overnight.
Yeah.
So those are all the things that we put together. The other thing that we do is that we try to look for challenges outside of the disease, and that keeps us away from focusing in on the disease. But as you know, the disease creeps in on a daily basis, and you do have your frustrations that crop up. Right now, for me, what I'm trying to deal with is trying to take care of myself. I'm reading a lot about that. There's a lot to be said about how the caregiver needs to take time for themselves. I chose, with her diagnosis, to be all in. So this is a team effort. We're 24/7. Wherever she goes, I go. Wherever I go, she goes. We're always together. We wanted to try to tackle this as a team effort. But at the same time, that does take a toll on me for making sure that I take care of myself. I enjoy managing. I enjoy the planning part of it. But I'm now trying to struggle with what can I do more so to make sure that I take care of my mental health and physical health, because I need to be there for her. I don't need something happening to me. As a matter of fact, I gave up alcohol just for the fact that I could be there for her and make sure that I'm at my full cognitive basis whenever things crop up, and to stay healthy.
Yeah.
So that's where we are.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes, the sacrifices that you make are actually, healthier for you. You think, oh, that's a sacrifice. It's like, wait a minute, but it's making me healthier. It's making me, so is it really a sacrifice? So it's
Right.
it's interesting that, and so your thoughts are basically, you could say, well, maybe it'd be better for somebody with Alzheimer's to be seeing the same thing all the time, and so they get used to it and they can remember that. But you feel that the stimulation, the new things, are really what are really the benefit.
Yes, I say that what we're doing is counterintuitive. They always say that you should have a routine set up for the person with Alzheimer's, so that they have the same thing to eat, they have the same bedtime, they do things the same way. And maybe later on that might be beneficial, in the later stages. But early on, the early stages of Alzheimer's, your short-term memory is affected and not your long-term memory. So what we're trying to do is take as many events and things of that nature and move it into long-term memory, so that when she becomes frustrated with something that might happen on a regular basis, that she can remember those things and bring her joy to her life, so that she's not concentrating on what she couldn't remember to do yesterday or the day before. The other thing is that it's also very stimulating for the brain. What I try to do is talk about stimulating the brain with brain games like Sudoku and crossword puzzles. Well, I'm moving her cheese every day. Every day she's waking up and trying to figure out where she is, and where we're going, and what we're going to do today. Usually I try to have a day that is filled with joy, things that we look forward to. As a matter of fact, this podcast was one of the things that I used today for her to think about. I mentioned the fact that we're going to be talking to you two. She's sparked right up and perked right up and ready to go to see you all. So that was,
Well, ditto, right back at you, Kat. I'm excited to talk to you. Listen, nobody gets me up at 9 a.m. except for people I like.
Yeah, I couldn't get her up at 9 a.m.
Yeah, I was like, I'll do it. I'll get up early. I'll get up early. But Kat, can I just say you look amazingly healthy, and you look beautiful, and like you have a glow, and whatever Tony's doing is you've got every woman's dream. You have such a great partner that is there with you, and obviously you're a great partner for him, because you've inspired him to achieve what he never thought he could. And what a great poster you are for all of us, and both of you in your own unique ways. And Kat, especially you. I mean, I know, having a mom who has Alzheimer's for a very long time, and she's She doesn't run marathons, I'll tell you that. But she does. She is a rocket. She has always been a force and incredibly social. And she would be trying to steal Tony from you if she had that. She'd say, "Oh, aren't you handsome?" And then on the same breath, she'd say, "Wow, are you gorgeous?" Hello to you, Kat. She's just sweet. Yeah. But, I think that it gets frustrating. And when I get frustrated, when I can't remember something, and it's frustrating. And I admire that you're pushing through it, because it's not easy. You're doing the best you can. You're doing the best anyone can. And you should be so proud of yourself. Because no, you really should. I don't say that glibly. Like, you are, it's really incredible what you're doing. And it moves me so much. You're a shining example. So I'm giving you a virtual kiss and a hug, because you really are something special.
Well, that was another reason why I wanted to do a part 2, was I wanted to have Catherine here with me to do this. I've done it over a dozen podcasts, and I would be there and she'd be off in the background doing whatever. And I wanted to include her to give folks another look at what the disease is and what the disease isn't. So
yes,
right.
Yes,
you can see that she's doing.
How do you feel? How do you feel, Kat? Are you feeling good?
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I
You
love.
feel good?
Yeah, I feel good going in and running and staying out, trying out. So.
and I'll bet you'd rather see the Eiffel Tower and the Great Wall of China and all those things instead of just staring at the same picture on the wall every day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a true statement. And she gets antsy. Oh my goodness, if I'm trying to do some work and she's like, okay, we got to go. I'm not going to just sit around this hotel room for another 15 minutes. Get yourself together and get out of here.
Girl, my mom
Yeah.
was the same way. My mom, when she lived with me that year, when we had our caregiver, Erlanda, my mom was like, let's go. My mom wanted to go and get out of the house. And Erlanda, God bless her, my mom saw every nook and cranny of LA every day. They were on a bus because Erlanda didn't drive. And there's my mom, on a bus, on the city bus, going to anywhere, a museum, shopping, anywhere there's people. My mom loved it, and she wanted to be out and about. And she made friends with everybody in my loft community. I have a live loft workspace, where you live and work, and it was like living in a studio. And she made friends with everybody there, and everybody knew her. And I think you're so right that it's important to stay involved as much as you can. And so what if you can't remember someone's name? Who cares? I can't remember everyone's name, right?
Right. That's not important at all.
And I think this is important for those who are caregiving to somebody. Is stimulation is so important. I know that when Susie, you were finally able to take your mom, and we went to a park for a picnic after being in COVID for a year and a half, but in the same place. And the place she's in is beautiful and it's wonderful, and all the people are loving. But there was no stimulation, no outside, nothing new. And I think bringing in something new all the time will, not only, whether you remember it or not, it brings your spirit. You remember it in here, as we always say, you remember here instead of here, and that's okay. So that stimulation you're providing, if in any way, for those who are caregiving right now, stimulate. Do not just let them sit, because I think that's going to accelerate it even more in the long run. No, you're providing, because, I don't know the science between, dopamine and serotonin and all those things, but activity stimulates those, the endorphins and everything. And that's, so to be just sitting every day and not moving and not getting stimulation, cannot be good for somebody with Alzheimer's. What
Or
you're
for
doing,
anybody, Don.
yeah, for anybody, that's true, like me. So to the book, one thing I noted with the book is the detail that you have for things that happened, 20 years ago. What you were eating and all these things. Did you journal?
Well, what happened was when I was doing the getting ready for my operation, there was a gentleman that put together a website, and he was suggesting that everybody journal what they're going through, their feelings and medication and your preparation for the operation. And you journal through the operation and you journal on your recovery. And once I started doing it, I just found it very therapeutic for me also to read others and find out what they went through. And I just continued writing. I wrote about my heart operation, and then when we hit the road, I started writing there. I was writing to a blog. Right now I have a blog out, which is Running with Cat. That's C-A-T. That's my pet name for Catherine, as you might have noticed. And I just kept writing. And they also state that for caregivers for folks with Alzheimer's, that journaling is really good there too. So I found it very beneficial for me to be writing down. So I would journal just about every day as to what's going on. And then when we come back from a trip, 30, 45-day trip, I would take all my writings and put it together and put it to the blog. And then last year, when we got stuck in St. Kitts, when COVID hit, I had some time, a month. We couldn't get off the island. So we went ahead and I started editing the book.
We've talked to a lot of caregivers who've written books, and by and large, everyone says it is the most therapeutic. And me and doing the film about my mom was, at first, I thought it was going to be more difficult than it was to relive it, but in fact, it was the best thing I ever did,
Yes.
creatively and personally. And so I think those are really valid points to make, that, writing your story, everyone's story is different. Even, because I remember saying, just what the world needs, another Alzheimer's movie, right? But everybody's story is different, and everybody's story is going to touch other people in different ways. And it's important for yourself as a caregiver, because you do need to take care of yourself, to make sure that you have an outlet like that. Right?
Yes. And everybody has a story.
Everybody.
You have a lot of them.
You can't look at a person and say, oh, I know exactly what they're going through. You have no idea. So
You have no idea, because the beauty of storytelling is that the more detailed you get, the more universally it's felt. So it's the details and the transparency that you provide in your book, which is so powerful. And it's like that when you, in any kind of story, whether it's a book or a film, if there's no details and it's just, generic, it's white noise.
right. Well, I also wanted to inspire others to look at life a little bit differently. Everybody is up against some type of situation. This was not it's our story about Alzheimer's, but as you said, it could be applied to anybody's story. If somebody's going through a situation. So I wanted to inspire folks to look at life a little bit differently. Say, oh, okay, maybe we should think about this, as opposed to, what my doctor said in terms of just sitting around and watching TV or staring out the window. The other thing is I wanted to have something that Catherine and I could share down the road. And we take the story, we listen to it on the audio book, and as we're traveling, and she's laughing and giggling, remembering the things the goofy things I had her do along the way, and the predicaments I got us into and out of as we tried to traverse it all over the world, as we visited 71 different 81 different countries and visited all 7 continents.
Did you learn anything about yourself or about each other through this process of writing the book, or in retrospect, listening to it?
Oh, what I learned is there's a lot more that you can do than you think that you can do. You know, they say that when you're running, that you still have 10%. So let's say you're at mile 20 and you say, oh, well, you know, I'm done. Well, actually, you still have 10% left you can do. So you can make it to mile 22 in that theory, but there's a lot more that you can accomplish than you think you can. That's one of the things. And then the other thing is that you have to reflect on the fact that there's a golden rule: do unto others as you want them to do unto you. And that keeps me centered and also focused on moving forward with this disease. And that's the fact that I know that if the tables would turn, Catherine would be right there by my side doing everything that I'm doing for her. So that kind of keeps me going.
Yeah, you're just a gem. You're a gem. You know, I worked on a film called Soul Surfer, and it was about this young girl Bethany Hamilton, who was a surfing champion who had her arm bitten off from a shark. And she was she's inspired so many people around the world, young people and older people. But, you know, she was so resilient and so strong. And most people are going to look at this story and go, well, she's just you know, Supergirl. We can't, you know, I could never be like her. And, you know, the truth is that, like you said, you always have 10% more. You don't have to compare yourself to Bethany or compare yourself to Tony and Kat because they happen to be running marathons. Whatever is your marathon, whatever is your thing, if it's dancing, if it's painting, if it's playing an instrument, if it's singing, if it's, you know, whatever is your outlet, whatever keeps you stimulated, that's what you need to embrace, and don't let it go. Hold on for dear life. Because I think, you know, some people might look at you guys and go, well, they're just incredible athletes. We can't compete with that. But you're not. Nobody's competing. This is what Tony and Kat do. Right. And it's and like, you know, and I take hip hop class. I've been doing it for 10 years. I am a secret hip hop dancer that I wish I was like in every video. Like, I love it so much. I can't even tell you. And I don't expect other people, you know, I'm pretty damn good at it, but that's
there are
just
videos
me.
out. I've seen videos too.
Yeah. I post them because people say they're inspirational because they go, wait, you weren't a dancer before? And I go, no, I mean, unless you count cheerleading, I mean, but I was like, I'm going to conquer this because I love music and I love moving my body. And I did. And we actually competed and we won in a competition, my crew and everything. So, you know, but that doesn't mean that you have to dance or you have to run. And, you know, it's whatever you love.
Right.
Do it.
Find your passion.
Yeah.
Find your passion.
Yeah.
That's what I tell folks.
And as you
all the
said,
time.
as you said before, it's important for both the caregiver and the person they're caring for. Like, if you as the caregiver, if you give up your passions or you give up everything just to caregive, it's not good for either of you.
Right.
You have to still have a life in order to be mentally and physically healthy, so you can caregive the best way you can, and do it without guilt, and do it with, you know, just it's okay to take care of yourself. It's okay for you to have fun. It's okay for you to live life, because if you don't, it's bad for both, you know, and sometimes it can be fatal for both. So yeah, what you're doing is so important.
I also think it's what you're modeling too. Is I remember when I did have to put my mom in assisted living, and you know, she was still, this was before she was in the wheelchair, and I remember her going into a memory care unit, and they were like doing a craft, like cutting out paper, you know, flowers, and my mom looked at me like, what are they, nuts? Like, I'm an adult. What are we doing? Preschool here? Right. And it was like, you know, there's this like box that our society that our system puts people in that have, cognitive impairment. And that doesn't mean that you've suddenly lost your whole wits about you, right? So, there's this general sort of category that, okay, now this is what you do. No, what you guys are doing is the right thing, is to embrace what you love and to keep life as normal as you can for as long as you can. Is there anything else that you want to share with us today that we didn't bring up, Tony or Kat?
Yeah.
Well, I just want to reiterate a point that you were making, and one that I talk about all the time, which is just like you said, you like hip hop dancing, we like running. We're not talking about going out here and trying to have everybody go to all 7 continents, or to run a marathon, or to do some of the crazy things that we do in terms of being nomads. But what we're doing is we're asking folks to just kind of look at life, just like Don said, nobody's getting out of this except for him, alive, and we have to figure out a way to enjoy it, no matter what. And that's what we are trying to do, and that's what I tried to do when I wrote the book, is to try to give people an alternative look at what it's like to have a debilitating disease. I had open heart surgery. Recovering from that and running a marathon 3 months after that is something that I set my mind towards. Every time that we run a race together, we always have a plan, which is to cross the finish line hand in hand, to enjoy putting the medals around us and enjoy the fact that we were able to accomplish something that we set forward. So for everybody out there, find what you're passionate about. Find something that the 2 of you can do together that you enjoy doing together. And whether it's going to a museum, it's going to botanical gardens, and whether it's going to join a hip hop class, wherever it is, just go ahead and seize the moment.
Well, you are absolutely living what you speak of, and you can hear or read about what he's speaking of.
Would you say they're running the talk?
I would say that. Yes, absolutely.
I love that.
And you can hear and read all about that in running all over the world. Our Race Against Early-Onset Alzheimer's. Tony and Kat, it's just been an absolute delight, as it always is whenever we speak to you. And we love the fact that we're able to watch you run that race together and cross that finish line hand in hand every day.
Yep.
And,
I'm going to cross it with you once. I'm going to do it.
Well, you got to be careful now, because I was only going to do one. So you never know. You might get the bug, and
I just might. If I can strap my computer around my neck while I'm running, I'd be the happiest girl in the world.
Well, let's see now. We'll figure something out around that.
All right. Kat, I think you'd be proud of me. I when I'm writing or editing, I have a stationary bike that I have a desk hooked up to it. So I am multitasking while I'm like, I'll cycle for like 4 hours at a time.
Wow.
Or 6 hours. Yesterday I did 6 hours, and it's like,
yeah.
And
I've never seen her. This is the only time I see her off the bike. This is it. So.
I mean, why?
You gotta do a podcast on the bike once,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The audience a good look at that. That'd be hilarious.
I could show, yeah. And after a while, though, it's hard to talk, because I'm like, because what I do is I'll do 30 minutes at level, and then I'll go higher level.
Yeah.
So I could do it for the first 30 minutes, because I do it. I start like at 7, 8. For all you cyclists out there. But it's been incredible. It all started during COVID, because we were quarantining, and I'm like, I have to exercise or I'm going to go cuckoo, right?
Yeah.
I needed to move my body. So that was the greatest thing, that I found this desk online. Get it, you guys. If you have a desk job, I highly recommend it, because it's changed my life.
Absolutely. Exercise is key. You got to keep moving. Yep, absolutely.
Move it or lose it. thank you guys so much. We love you. Kat,
thank
you are the
you.
best. Tony, you're even better, but not even as best as her. So, and I can't wait to see you guys again. Get the book.
Yeah.
It's such a fun listen. If you're like me and you want to multitask, your narrator sounds like Obama. He's like the coolest dude ever.
Yes,
And
yes.
and he's awesome. You'll enjoy it. It's an easy, fun, great ride with these two wonderful people. So thank you. And Don, what do we always say?
Well, we always say, and they are the living embodiment of what we always say, and that is love is powerful, love is contagious, and love conquers alls. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Take care.
Subscribe, like us, and share.
All you gotta do
Absolutely.
is
Bye.
sing a song.